Whatever career you choose must have the following characteristics. Number one, you must believe that it was what God created you to do. That's the first characteristics of your career. You had a sensing. You believe that it was what God created you to do. In other words, your career must be what you understand as your path of destiny. Number two, another characteristic of your career line is that you must get pride out of saying that is what you do. You are happy to tell anybody, this is what I am. When you are uncomfortable about saying that you do what you do, usually it is not where you're going to excel. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. Number three, whatever you choose as a career must help you to develop and use your personality. In other words, most times you will not need to change who you are to fit your career line. I'm sure that people like Jedi will tell you how they may not even have understood whilst when they were growing up, everything they said, everybody started laughing. You almost would find it irritating at one point. Why are you laughing? And one of the things, have you ever noticed, one of the things that comedians say off stage the most is, I'm serious. I'm serious. Why? Because nobody takes them seriously. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm serious. People will be laughing. He's saying I'm serious. Then another person who is a serious-minded person wants to now go and crack jokes. Then the guy has to tell you that was a joke. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. The guy, do you understand? You don't have to change your personality to fit your career line. Go and check it. If you have a personality that does not like to wear shoes, only tennis, canvas, then let me help you understand it. The day you will find your career line, you will discover that that's what they wear there. If you don't like to wear ties, what you really, I'm telling you, you don't have to change who you are to usually excel in your career line. Next, your career line also will require your passion. It's one of those things that when you are doing it, you love doing it so much you don't even know when time flies. People have to remind you, or you need systems to remind you that time has gone. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. When you see true bankers at work, 9 o'clock, somebody has to call them to say, it's 9 p.m. already. Guy says, oh my God, my wife is going to kill me. And he's running home. Don't you understand? Another person who works in a bank is 3:30. We are almost closing. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? When you are in the place of your career, time disappears. And not only for you, but mostly for the people around you. Because there's something around you that just creates that magic that makes everybody so captivated that they don't even know that time has gone. Listen to me. You cannot really say you're a speaker if you don't talk too much. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be very difficult. I used to tell my wife that she had a speaking gift. But she was always, she tried to run away from it for a long time. But soon after she started to go out and speak to people and talk to people about entrepreneurship and blah, 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 Then she really started to enjoy it. And my wife is really good as a speaker. Does anybody think so? But when the day that I heard that normally when she started, my wife will go somewhere. 20 minutes she's out. I can't. Do you guys remember that in Speaker's Corner? She came in 25 minutes. She was gone. Not too long ago, she went to speak in Festa. By this time, the thing has entered her body. You know what I mean? 1 hour, my wife was still jabbing. 1.5 hours, my wife was still rapping. 2 hours, they had to come and start passing her. She said, yeah, this is what happens to my husband. So when she came back and told me what, I said, now you are a speaker. Which is not to say that you should take other people's time on duty. But I'm saying that when you are in your place, time should fly. So you need prompters to tell you, listen, manage your time. Manage your time. But listen, there's a gentleman by the name of Tosan Jemide. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of him. Cakes by Tosan. This guy makes the most amazing cakes that you can see. He did a wedding cake once that was a chandelier. And most people did not know that it was a wedding cake until it was time to lower it down. It had light bulbs in it. Then when it was time to lower it down, how he did it that the cake did not melt, I cannot tell you. He did another cake once for a wedding that had a water fountain running down, and the cake was not wet. He made a cake once for a fashion designer, Odion. I don't know how many of you have heard of him. It was a singer machine, complete with, you know that one that has, you know it? With the thread, everything, and even the thread was icing. Everything. Some of you say, Kai, this man, are you where? You see, you can take a man away from the bush, but you cannot take the bush from the man. You understand what I'm saying? But it is no strange thing that Tosan therefore can charge 2.5 million naira for a wedding cake, whereas some people can try and sell their wedding cakes and say they are bakers for 35,000 naira and nobody will buy it. But this is the interesting thing. Tosan's wife was saying to us one day how if you leave Tosan with cakes, the guy will probably die of exhaustion because he will not sleep awake for as long as he's working on the cake. She said Tosan needs to be compelled to sleep. And initially, what she found out was that she would give him some time, maybe sometime till about 3 a.m., 4 a.m. He's still working on one cake. Then she goes to call him and says, Tosa, come, you have to come to bed. Then, once he gets into bed, and she thinks to herself, I have gotten him. Oh yeah, till she sleeps off. If she wakes up 10 minutes later, he's gone. So he just comes into bed, waits until she sleeps, and then he goes back and continues his work. So she said what she used to do was that she had decided that, okay, let me sleep well for the time that I've decided to give him, so that when I come and tell him to sleep, I will wake up and I'll be watching him. Every time he opens his eyes, so close your eyes, like a baby. Like a baby. They have to beg him to sleep. If your career does not do that to you yet, forget it. You are not yet. You are not there yet. You are not there yet. You are not there yet. Your career must use your passion. Must use your passion. Next, your career must affect many people's lives. I found out that, listen, it's not what you do that matters in life, it's the impact of what you do. Two people were asked the same question at a seminar that I went to. I asked them the same question. I said, what do you do? One of them said to me, I'm a pharmacist. I said, what do you do? He says, I sell drugs. The other one said, I'm a pharmacist. I save people's lives. Sick people, I give them the thing that helps them get well. The ones that are not sick, I give them the thing that helps them stay healthy. Which of those two do you think will have a greater pride in his work? In other words, when you are going to stay in your career line, you have to think that what you are doing affects many people's lives. It's important. Next, your career line must constantly push you to higher dimensions of performance. One of the reasons why people quit at the top is because many times they cannot see where else to go. One of the questions I ask mostly in banking sector, I say, at the height of your career, what staff level do you hope to attain? Okay? Are you with me? At the height of your career, what staff level do you hope to attain? Some people will say, oh, I want to be a senior banking officer. Others will say, I want to be an assistant manager. Some people will say, I want to be a senior manager. Somebody will say, I want to be an assistant general manager. Some will say, I want to be an executive director. That is the one I don't usually understand. Why would you want to be an executive director and not an MD? But they say, no. I just want to be an executive director, then I want to go and become the MD of my own company. Interesting. And most times I ask them, if you were to be known as number one in the world, or you were to start your own company and your company was to be the leading company in its own market, what market will your company lead in? Does anybody know the answer to that question? Let me ask it again. If you were to start up your own company and your company was to be number one in its market, what market would your company lead in? What's that market? If you were to be known as number one in the world, so that the minute that one thing is called, your name is called after it. Just like if I say to you golf, what name comes to you? If I say to you Formula 1 racing, what name comes to you? Schumacher. If I say to you free kicks, what name comes to you? David Beckham. No problem. If I were to mention something, your name will naturally come up in Japan. Do you know why I said Japan? Do you know why? Because you have not. Has David Beckham ever been here? Has Tiger Woods been here? Has Michael Schumacher, has he been here? So think about it this way. These guys have not been to Nigeria, but you know them. You have also not met them. Not so? Yet you know them. So listen to me. If you in Nigeria that has not met someone in Europe can know their name simply by the thing that they do, it tells me that somebody in Japan can know you by what you do. I said something that was, as far as I'm concerned, very, very fundamental a few days ago. I said your fame does not require a visa. Your fame does not require a visa. You can be in Nigeria and be a global player. Bill Gates has his products in places he has never stepped into. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You can have an impact on countries, nations, and you've never been there before. So stop thinking that until you go somewhere to speak, that's when they will know you. How many people have heard of Les Brown? How many people have heard of Zig Ziglar? Have they been here before? The last thing that I want to say is that your career should be rewarding. Your career should be rewarding. In other words, you must find a way in which your career will pay you. And to do this, let me quickly add that don't confuse your customers with your consumers.